So in the last video, I showed you guys really the wiring needed to connect our Raspberry Pi to the engine. And now that all the wiring's completed and actually the Pi is now permanently on the engine, I'm just gonna show you guys really what all went into finishing it up and actually getting the Pi onto the engine. So first, we had to make a mount for the Pi. Now what we did was we just 3D printed a mount, so you can see that this is our 3D printed part here, and it's actually got a box behind it that houses the Pi and the necessary wiring connections into the Pi. The mount also holds our touchscreen that allows us to interface to the Pi from the engine, and it really just replaces our control panel and will become our new control panel for the engine. So now I'm just going to show you guys really just the rundown of what the Raspberry Pi does for us right now and what we hope the Raspberry Pi to do for us in the future. So all we have to do to get power supplied to the Pi is get power supplied to our fuse panel, and all we have to do is we just have to connect the fuse and our thermal circuit breaker. And now we're getting power. And we can see the Pi is booting up. So now that the Pi is on and booted up, you see we have an interface with a couple buttons on it. And what this interface with the buttons on it is, it just replaces our existing switch panel for right now. So we have a button for the air starter, the spark plug, the oil pump, and the fuel pump. And all we need to do to get them to turn on is just to hit the on button and then the off button to turn it off. So I'm going to start the oil pump. And you see once the oil pump started, our button becomes green and we can verify it's on because our oil pressure on the gauge has just turned on. Also, as well as the fuel pump. And it's very simple to turn them on and off. So this is not just all we want to do with our Raspberry Pi. Now that it's integrated into the engine, we want to first wire some sensors into the engine, such as a compression sensor to be added directly after the impeller wheel, as well as carbon dioxide and oxygen sensors on the exhaust side, and temperature sensors throughout the engine. Now once the sensors are hooked up, we hope to actually completely control the engine from the Raspberry Pi. Now we can't do that right now because we adjust our fuel flow as well as our oil pressure with manual ball valves. So first what we need to do is we need to actually get electronic valves, and then we can wire those valves into the Pi so the Pi can then control the oil pressure and the fuel flow all from the touchscreen. Now once that's done, we can actually automate the entire runtime process of the engine by coding in when the Pi needs to initiate certain systems in the engine and how it needs to adjust the oil pressure and fuel flow during the runtime of the engine, so that really all we would have to do is hit a start button and let the engine do its thing.